Hey guys, tonight we're diving into something grim and gritty, a scenario where survival is far from guaranteed. We're talking about winter, not just any winter, but the kind that hits when you're living in the Middle Ages, a time when the concept of cozy doesn't exist, and insulation might as well be a mythical spell cast by a wizard. Before we settle in, take a moment to like this post, and follow if you genuinely enjoy what I share here. Seriously. Also, let me know where you're reading from and what time it is. I love hearing about where all of you are tuning in from across the globe. Now, imagine dimming the lights, maybe turning on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into this journey together. You wake up before the sun even considers rising. Cold isn't just an inconvenience. It's an all-consuming force that takes over your entire body. The air is so sharp it feels like it could strip your skin. Your breath forms clouds in the darkness above you, curling like ghostly smoke toward the rafters of the single room you share with your whole family. It's not much of a house. The walls are made of wattle and daub, patched together with whatever scraps could be gathered during warmer months. The thatched roof leaks when the snow falls too heavily, and the floor is more dirt than anything else. In the depths of January, that dirt floor turns into something between frozen cement and a chilled stew, seeping cold upward through your thin straw mattress and straight into your bones. There's no glass in the windows, only oiled parchment or, if you're fortunate, wooden shutters. Neither does much to stop the wind from slicing through every crack. The fire in the hearth died out sometime in the early morning, and no one dared to get up in the dark to feed it. Why would they? The firewood is nearly gone, and you're supposed to stretch it for at least another 6 weeks. Your father pulls a wool cloak over his head, mutters something incoherent, and turns toward the wall. Your mother is already awake, pulling your youngest sibling close to her chest for warmth. The baby's nose is red, and he's wheezing, hopefully just a cold. You try to sit up, but your joints are stiff, your fingers feel swollen and sluggish, clumsy from the cold. Your breath comes out in visible puffs, and you notice frost creeping along the inside of the wooden door. Outside, the world is silent and white, blanketed in snow that will soon turn brown, patchy, and crusted with ice like stale bread. For now, though, it's freshly fallen, beautiful in a cruel, untouched way that reminds you nature doesn't care if you survive February. Your first task of the day is to rekindle the fire, a desperate, almost sacred act. You dig through the cold ash, searching for a stubborn ember that's still glowing. If you find one, you blow gently, feeding it wisps of hay or dried moss. If it's gone, you'll have to trudge to the neighbors, frozen fingers clutching a bowl, and ask for a coal, carrying the quiet shame of being the family who let their fire die again. It's not just about pride. Fire is life. Without it, there's no warmth, no food, no protection from the dark, biting night. Once the hearth is crackling with weak heat, you hang a pot of water over it. Water fetched yesterday, because hauling it from the half-frozen stream at this hour isn't happening. You heat it not to drink, but to thaw your hands enough to tackle the rest of the day's tasks. Surviving a medieval winter isn't about hiding away. It's about grinding through the cold like a worm burrowing through hard soil. Your clothes are the same ones you've worn for weeks. A wool tunic over a linen shirt, thick hose, a belt with a knife, and maybe leather boots that have endured too many winters and too few repairs. If you're lucky, you have a sheepskin cloak that smells of everything it's ever touched: smoke, sweat, wet dog, and old hay. Everything is scratchy, heavy, and useless at keeping you dry. Once snow melts on your shoulders, it soaks in. Damp clothing in winter is a gamble. People don't just catch colds, they get lung rot or worse. The modern idea that winter is beautiful and peaceful is far removed from the medieval reality. Winter isn't the romantic hush of falling snow. It's the silence of buried fields, frozen wells, and no second chances. You're constantly thinking about supplies, eyeing your family stores, a sack of turnips, some dried beans, a few salted fish, maybe smoked pork if you're higher up the village food chain. There's a root cellar, but it's more of a wish list than a treasure trove. The bread is so tough, it could double as a weapon. Outside, the world is muffled. Snow quiets everything, leaving only the occasional crow or the distant creak of trees under frost's weight. You step into that stillness to check on the livestock. The cows and goats are huddled in the byre, a smaller, even colder shed next to the house. If they freeze, you lose milk. If they die, you lose everything. You whisper to them as you open the latch, as much for your own comfort as theirs. When the goat sneezes, probably fine, you hope. You break the ice in their water trough with a chunk of firewood and scatter handfuls of hay stashed in the loft last autumn. You recall the winter 2 years ago when the hay ran out early and your family had to choose between feeding the animals or yourselves. That year, the stew tasted suspiciously meaty by mid-February. Here's a strange fact. People believed winter air itself was dangerous, not just cold but foul, almost evil. Bad air could make you sick. Scholars debated whether winter fog carried invisible demons or just bad humors. The debate was never settled, but you still hold your breath a little when mist coils low across the fields. You head back inside, already exhausted. Your nose is numb, your fingers ache, and your stomach grumbles for something other than porridge. But the day is just beginning. Surviving a medieval winter isn't about enduring one big disaster. It's about facing endless small miseries, one after another, without giving up. You close the door behind you, and the wind slaps it back, as if offended. You latch it again, this time with twine. The fire crackles faintly. Your mother hands you a bowl. It's warm, a small miracle. You eat in silence, watching frost creep along the inside of the shutters. You've never known central heating, but sometimes you dream of a room where warmth pours from the walls, where floors aren't frozen earth, and your breath doesn't hang like ghost vapor every time you exhale. In this life, heat is earned, chopped, stacked, dried, rationed, begged for, and fiercely guarded. You wrap your arms around yourself, try to recall what it felt like to be warm all the way through. You can't. It's a distant memory from another life. Your home doesn't hold heat. It's a glorified wind tunnel with furniture. The moment the fire dies down, cold sneaks back in like a thief, curling under the door, dripping from the ceiling, slithering across the floor. No corner is safe. You live in layers, linen against your skin, then wool, more wool, and if you're lucky, fur or a thick felted cloak. The poor wear whatever they can stitch together, sometimes sewing cloth to their skin when thread runs out. Even with all that, you're still cold. Not chilly, but numb-fingered, aching-toed cold. The pain settles deep, becoming background noise. You feel it most when you remove something, gloves to wash your hands, boots to change socks, and the cold rushes in like it's been waiting. Humans weren't built for this. Not really. Not without help. Yet you and your village stagger through winters with thick clothes, a few fires, and sheer stubborn refusal to die. Everyone becomes a student of warmth, learning which materials keep cold out. Fur if you can afford it. What wood burns longest? Oak if you can find it. And how to sleep with your legs twisted to trap heat under a shared blanket. At night, the temperature drops lower, and your body becomes a negotiation. You curl against your sibling like a human spoon. If you're on the outside, you're the frost shield, absorbing the misery so someone else might sleep. It's miserable. You try to rotate, but someone always cheats. There's no privacy, no space. You sleep fully clothed and rarely wash because heating water wastes firewood. You start to stink, but no one cares. Everyone does. It's a shared misery, like living in a wool-scented armpit. Even the rich can't fully escape. Nobles have bigger fires and finer clothes, maybe fur-lined cloaks from some warmer land you'll never see, but their castles are giant stone freezers. The walls hold cold like a grudge. Tapestries insulate as much as they decorate, and servants scurry to keep fires burning in every room. The wealthy might have curtained beds to trap breath-warmed air, but even they wake with blue fingers and dripping noses. Cold is the great equalizer. It doesn't care about titles. Then there's the strange stuff. Living half-frozen for months breeds odd beliefs. A whispered tale claims that in extreme cold, your soul can slip from your body during sleep. Those who die in their sleep are said to have wandered off in a dream and gotten lost. You don't fully believe it, but you don't dismiss it either. Your uncle fell asleep by a dead hearth one night when you were 5 and never woke up. He looked peaceful. The They said, like he'd gone walking in a dream and forgotten the way back. Even the animals suffer. Your dog, if you have one, shivers in his sleep, curled at your feet. Cats crowd the hearth and hiss if you try to move them. Chickens are feathered ice lumps, puffed up and miserable. Sometimes a pig or two is brought inside, not for fun, but because sharing body heat is cheaper than losing the meat. You learn to ignore the smells, or maybe you just stop noticing. You start to notice something else, though. Your fingers are slower these days. Your joints ache more. You think of old Ajeta, the widow who froze last winter because she couldn't chop wood anymore, and no one helped, not out of cruelty, but exhaustion. Cold makes people selfish. It steals generosity. You want to be kind, but your muscles tremble just lifting the axe. You're 15, yet hunched like someone twice your age. The village elders debate whether winters have always been this harsh or if something's changed. Some say the world is tilting, the sun growing lazy. Others mutter about divine punishment, sins that grow icicles. Strange travelers with bright eyes and parchment maps speak of a little ice age, a global shift no one understands. Most villagers just mutter and spit. It doesn't matter what you call it when your toes are turning black. On rare, clear nights, when the wind settles, you step outside. The snow sparkles under moonlight, and trees groan like they're talking in their sleep. It's quiet in an ancient way, like the world is holding its breath. It's beautiful until your ears sting, and you hurry back inside, cheeks raw, to dry your socks by the hearth. No one says it aloud, but winter kills, not with storms or wolves, but slowly, patiently. It chips away at your strength, your food, your spirit. Yet you endure because there's no other choice. Each night you survive is a small victory carved from ice. You pull your blanket tighter and press closer to the fire. Tomorrow will be just as cold, maybe colder. You try not to think about it, watching the flames instead, letting your eyes blur. The hearth is the only part of your home that glows. It's not much, a shallow stone or clay basin, maybe with a crude iron pot on a hook, but it's the heart of everything. Without it, you're done. It cooks your food, dries your socks, boils your water, and holds back the night. You guard it like a dragon hoarding gold. Only your treasure is embers. You stare at the coals, sunset-colored, the last warm thing in your world. You start and end your day with it. Sometimes you see faces in the flames, not real ones, probably. Your neighbor swears her husband saw the devil in the fire once, just smiling. But that's what people say when they're stir-crazy from 6 weeks indoors. Firelight plays tricks, especially when it's the only light you've seen for days. You know how long firewood lasts by its smell. Dried oak burns slow and sweet. Pine burns fast and spits. In desperation, you'll burn anything, old tools, furniture, even dried dung. Everyone has. No one brags. But when you smell that smoky barnyard stench from another house, you nod, not in judgment, but solidarity. The fire's heat only reaches so far, creating an invisible circle of comfort where fingers thaw and cheeks unfreeze. Step outside it, and the air slaps you back to reality. You fight for the warm spot, sharing it only with those who deserve it, like the baby or someone who hauled ice from the well. Everyone else waits, huddled in cloaks like sad, smoky burritos. You learn the tricks. Hot stones in your boots, a warmed brick wrapped in cloth under your blanket, socks dried near the fire. Not too close, or they'll smoke, earning a lecture from your mother about wasted cloth. She's right. Cloth is precious, like everything else. Every log burned is one less day of survival. Every stick tossed on the hearth is a bargain. Warmth now, hunger later. You've heard stories of people dying in their sleep, not from freezing, but from burning their wood too fast. A few nights of comfort, then nothing. Not a death you can plan for. Fire discipline isn't called that out loud. It's just what you do. You ration, plan, suffer now to suffer less later. Not all fires are equal. Too much wood too fast, and it burns out. Too little, and it smolders, choking the room with smoke that makes the baby cough. You've mastered the timing. Kindling first, then a finger-thick log, then a split branch when the flames catch. It takes practice, patience, and luck. Sometimes the fire dies anyway, no matter how much you poke or plead. Some families build their winter rhythm around the fire schedule. Morning fire to melt wall frost, midday fire for the one hot meal, evening fire to keep the dark at bay. Overnight, it burns low, just enough to dull the cold's edge. You fall asleep to its soft crackle and wake when it stops or when your breath hangs above your face. There's one room, one fire, one everything. Everyone's in the same smoky box of mud and straw, sleeping, eating, arguing, shivering. Privacy doesn't exist. You ignore your father's stomping boots, your sister's pre-cough sniff, the sound of someone shivering in the dark. Try not to cry because frost reached their shoes overnight. The fire changes people, not just by warming them, but by becoming the measure of life. How much wood do we have matters more than how are you. You could be missing a hand, and someone would still ask, did you feed the fire? There's comfort in that terrible simplicity. Here's a quirky fact. In some parts of medieval Europe, people believed certain trees, like hawthorn, ash, or rowan, made fires that warded off evil spirits. Burning those meant your home was safe, not warm, not comfortable, just safe. Sometimes, that's the best you can hope for. Scholars still argue whether fire dependency made people more superstitious. Some say yes. When your life depends on something that flickers and dies for no reason, you start seeing gods in it. Others say it made people practical, trusting would over wonders. You don't know what's true. You just know that when the fire's healthy, everyone feels a little more alive. But there are bad days. There are days when the fire struggles to catch, when the wind screams through the eaves and tries to force the smoke back into the room. When the chimney's clogged, you're forced to burn low or not at all. Those are the days you huddle in your cloak from dawn to dusk, praying for something, anything, to shift. Sometimes, nothing changes. Sometimes, all you can do is hold your hands toward the feeble flames and pretend it's enough. By evening, the fire has dwindled again. You scrape the ash into a tidy pile, banking the coals with scraps of bark and moss, hoping they'll hold their warmth until dawn. You pile extra straw over your feet, wrap your fingers in cloth, and tuck your face into your collar. Closing your eyes, you try to summon the memory of heat, not just the fire's glow, but sunlight, a breeze smelling of grass instead of smoke, the sound of flowing water instead of ice. The last thing you see before sleep is the ember's red pulse, the only thing in this house that dares to shine. There's a half-joking saying in the village. A full pantry is a full belly, but an empty one makes you pray harder. Right now, staring into the corner where your food stores are shrinking, you're getting religious. Not the neat hymn-singing kind, but the raw, desperate kind, pleading not to run out before the thaw. You know exactly how long a sack of oats lasts, how many meals you can stretch from salted rabbit, and what happens when the pickled vegetables grow too fuzzy to eat. You never thought you'd miss turnips, but here you are, grating one into a pot like it's a delicacy. It's been hanging in the cellar for months, tough as leather and twice as pungent, but it's food, almost. You toss in a chunk of dried onion and a scrap of smoked pork rind, just enough to hint at meat. No one gets full on this stew, but it's hot, and hot matters. You stir slowly, watching the slop bubble like it's performing some alchemy. It's not. Medieval winters aren't just cold, they're hungry. If you didn't toil like a beast during the harvest, stashing every root, drying every herb, salting and smoking every scrap of meat, winter turns from harsh to unlivable fast. You think back to October, hauling barley sacks, packing apples in straw, cramming shelves with jars of pickled cabbage and beets, salting fish like your life depended on it, because it did. Now, only the stubborn survivors remain. Battered root vegetables, dried beans hard enough to break teeth, and shriveled apples you're almost scared to cut open. Fresh food is a summer luxury. You haven't seen green in weeks, maybe a hint of mold, but not the green of living plants. No crisp lettuce, no juicy pears, just things that don't rot easily or things you'll eat after they've rotted a bit. You dream of fresh bread, but what you have is more weapon than meal. Heavy, blackened loaves baked months ago, store high to keep mice away. They're rock hard, edible only after soaking in stew until they soften into something chewable. You've broken countless knives trying to slice winter bread. Even the pigs wouldn't touch it, if you still had pigs. You remember the November slaughter, a ritual every family has before the freeze sets in and feeding livestock becomes impossible. It's not pretty or clean, but it's meat, packed in salt, hung in the rafters to dry, or smoked over low fires until it's more bark than flesh. You ration it slice by slice. One for the stew, one for special days, one hidden for when someone's sick. You never know when you'll need a miracle. Here's the quirky part. Sometimes you find a strange satisfaction in it. Not the hunger, but the quiet pride of making it another day on food you fought to preserve. There's honor in rationing, stretching a week's grain into 10 days, cutting potatoes thinner, scraping the pot cleaner. You make tea from dried nettles and pretend it's nutritious. You become an expert in enough to quiet your stomach, enough to fend off the cold, enough to keep going. Not everyone makes it. Every winter, someone doesn't. You hear whispers when a family goes quiet. Fewer footprints in the snow, a door left open too long, a fire gone cold, the house eerily still. Starvation doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it creeps in, slowing people until they stop rising. You try not to dwell on it, but you notice your neighbor's son hasn't been seen in days, and his mother looked too thin last time you saw her. The kind of thin that says she's giving her share to the children. Scholars debate whether medieval people understood nutrition. Some say they knew enough. Eat grains, get some meat, avoid spoiled food. Others argue it was mostly superstition, like believing onions warded off disease or fasting helped the soul as much as the body. You're no scholar. You just know what keeps your stomach from growling and your limbs moving. If you're lucky, you still have honey, the gold of the pantry. It's sweet, viscous, an escape from the taste of old grain and pickled despair. A spoonful can mask bitterness, bribe a child, or even dress a wound if the healer's too far. Honey keeps, doesn't freeze, doesn't rot. You almost worship it. When food runs short, you lean on ritual. There's a rhythm to the hunger. Breakfast is hot water with a splash of beer or wine. Maybe a crust if you're lucky. Midday is your best shot. Stew bread, perhaps a boiled egg, if any remain. Dinner is lighter, more hot water, maybe thin porridge. You don't snack or nibble. Every bite is deliberate. You dream of feasts, nobles eating roast goose with apples and sugar, thick cream, pie stuffed with venison and cherries. It sounds like a fairy tale, and you wonder if it's real or just a story to keep peasants dreaming. But dreaming doesn't fill your stomach, so you stir the pot, scrape the bottom, lick the spoon, and hope tomorrow brings more than beets and rock-hard bread. Yet you survive because that's what winter demands, not luxury, not satisfaction, but survival. You eat what's there, ration what's left, and pray spring arrives before your pantry echoes like an empty drum. Then you wake up needing to pee, the cruelest torment of a medieval winter night. There's no chamber pot in your house. Those are for wealthier homes with a coin or sense to keep one. Your toilet is a wooden bench with a hole over a pit behind the house. Charming, isn't it? To use it, you must leave your relatively warm cocoon of scratchy wool blankets and face the freezing air outside. Your bladder doesn't care. You try to ignore it, curling tighter under the blanket, bargaining with your body to hold out until morning. It doesn't work. With a groan, you peel back the covers and instantly regret everything. Your breath forms a cloud, the air slapping your skin like an angry snow spirit. Your boots are stiff and damp from yesterday's snow, but you shove your feet in without socks. You grab your cloak, wrap it tightly, and slip out the door, bracing for the first lungful of frigid air. It hits like a blade, seizing your lungs and stinging your cheeks. You squint through falling snow. Great, it's snowing again. The outhouse is 20 steps away, 20 miserable steps through ankle-deep snow over uneven ground of ice and slush. Your foot slips, your knee slams into the frozen earth, and you swear, your breath steaming like a kettle. You limp the rest of the way to the sad wooden shack, which offers little protection but is still better than indoors. Inside, the stench hits, a mix of waste, rot, and something unidentifiable fermenting since autumn. The seat is frosted. You do your business in record time, shivering and muttering curses, eyes fixed on the wall, because looking down is a bad idea. The cold touches places it shouldn't, and you're briefly convinced you'll never feel warm again. If you brought straw, good for you. If not, it's snow, nature's icy toilet paper. You grab a handful from a drift by the door and brace yourself. You'll never forget the first time you learned that trick at 8, shrieking loud enough to scare the chickens. Some families use old rags, washed and reused, but washing in winter risks frozen hands, so snow it is. The return is worse. Your fingers are too stiff to refasten your cloak, so you stumble back, cloak flapping, boots squelching, pride left in the outhouse. The wind picks up, snow stinging your face. You pass the shed, where the goat shifts, probably judging you. The door sticks from swollen wood. You slam your shoulder into it and collapse inside, panting like you've survived a battle, because you have. Your family doesn't stir. This is normal. You wrap yourself in a blanket, teeth chattering, and inch toward the fire, now a dull orange whisper. You stare at the coals, wondering how this is your life. There's no toilet humor in the Middle Ages, just toilet tragedy. Relieving yourself shouldn't feel like a pilgrimage through hell, but it does. You wonder how nobles manage. They have chamber pots, emptied by servants in moats, probably. If you're sick, stomach cramps from bad meat or fever sweats, it's worse. No one's bringing you a bedpan. If you're lucky, someone helps you to the outhouse. If not, accidents happen, leaving you with frozen, soiled clothes and shame that lingers. Scholars and reenactors debate whether medieval people used outhouses regularly or preferred open fields and woods. In your village, it's whatever's closest and won't get you scolded by neighbors. There's no nuance when your backside's freezing. Every few days, someone, usually the youngest son or the loser of a bet, empties the pit. Armed with a bucket, a stick, and wool soaked in vinegar stuffed up their nose, they scoop out the horrors and cart them to the dung heap, which fertilizes next spring's fields. Yes, you eat next year's potatoes thanks to this year's misery. If the pit freezes, waste piles up above the surface, a grotesque sculpture. You chip it away with a shovel. It's not glamorous. It's barely survivable, but someone has to do it. Tonight, you're grateful you only had a pee, a small mercy. You're almost warm again, the fire catching with a few twigs, your skin no longer tingling. Your nose still runs, your feet feel like soggy stones, but you survive the most undignified part of winter. Tomorrow, you'll do it again, maybe twice. You try not to think about it, just another way dignity dies, one shivering midnight sprint at a time. You'd think with the fire lit, food simmering, and outhouse ordeal done, you could rest. But winter doesn't care if you're tired. It thrives on keeping you busy. Chores never stop, and unlike summer's lazy days, winter demands speed, focus, and numb fingers that drop everything. The cold doesn't pause for children, the elderly, or you. You step outside again, boots still damp, to fetch water because the pot's nearly empty, and someone needs a drink, wash, or make more of that gruel everyone pretends is soup. There's no magic tap. Your village has a well, and if it hasn't frozen solid, you're lucky. The water lies under a thick ice sheet. You grab a rusted iron rod, hike up your stiff tunic, and brace for the full-body shiver only morning frost delivers. The ice cracks with a brutal shriek, and you haul the rope, muscles trembling as the bucket emerges. You spill some. Everyone does, but save enough. Every drop counts. The rope freezes to your gloves instantly, and you spend minutes peeling them off like a clumsy onion, cursing under your breath. It's normal. On your way back, you notice the chicken coop door ajar. Not good. Chickens aren't smart in summer, but in winter, they'll freeze solid in corners if exposed. You peer inside. 2 birds are dead, stiff and silent on the straw, beaks frosted. Another stares dumbly, perched on a third, also likely dead. You scoop up the survivors, close the door, and shove a stick through the latch. The dead ones will be dinner, stringy or not. Chores multiply. If it's not chickens, it's goats. If it's not goats, it's the firewood pile, shrinking faster than it should. Your brother swears someone's stealing logs at night, which wouldn't surprise you. Desperation makes neighbors dishonest. You don't blame them. You might do the same if your hearth was cold and your child's lips were blue. You still have to haul feed to the animals, bags growing heavier each week. They need water, too, thawing frozen troughs with hot water or poking holes in the ice. If they go thirsty too long, they weaken, and weak animals don't survive March. Winter's cruel truth. Your body slows just when chores get harder. Your joints ache, your knuckles crack, you get nosebleeds from dry air and headaches from smoke when a wind pushes it back inside. Your fingertips are raw, bruised, and oddly purple. You joke you're turning into a corpse early. Your sister doesn't laugh. There's a rhythm. Wake, check the fire, feed animals, fetch water, haul wood, scrape frost from windows, clear snow from the doorway, boil something, fix something, worry about something. By mid-morning, you're exhausted with half the day left. Resting means falling behind, and falling behind is how people vanish. Here's a fun fact. Medieval work calendars showed peasants relaxing in winter, sitting by fires, roasting meat, drinking, laughing. Scholars puzzle over it. Was it propaganda, wishful thinking, or noble artists clueless about how the bottom 99% lived? You know the answer. Winter isn't glamorous. It's the grinding maintenance of not dying. No festivals for hauling slush from the goat pen or scraping mold off turnips. No ballads for breaking ice so your mother can wash her hands. Just cold, repetitive survival. Your body betrays you. Your back aches, a deep, loose feeling you ignore. If you acknowledged every twinge, you collapse. You grit your teeth through frost-numbed mornings and gray afternoons. There's a strange peace in the rhythm. Watching smoke curl from village chimneys, counting puffs to guess who still has wood and who's burning anything they can find. You watch the sun inch across the sky, barely rising, like it's reluctant to show its face. Daylight feels precious, even if you spend it working. There's a stillness in your chest, not calm or content, but close to acceptance. This is winter, not a snow globe fantasy or carols and candles, but sweat, blisters, and smoke-stung eyes. You trudge inside with numb legs and a bucket of half-frozen water. Someone hands you a crust of bread. You chew slowly, steam from the hearth rising beside you. The chores are done for now. Tomorrow, they start again. For this hour, you rest, the fire crackles, and you let yourself believe it's enough. You assume nobles have it easier, and in many ways they do. They don't chop wood, haul water, milk goats, or scrub reaches. Their hands are smoother, their clothes finer, their chances of frostbite lower. But stories and glimpses inside their manors or castles reveal their winters are different, not always better. Castles, big, stone fortresses, look impressive but are essentially massive refrigerators in winter. Stone doesn't insulate. It hoards cold like a debt collector. In summer, thick walls keep things cool, but in winter, they exhale frost. Nobles huddle by cart-sized hearths, bundled in fur, drinking hot wine like it's their lifeline. They have space, a double-edged sword, separate rooms, feather-stuffed mattresses instead of hay, but more cold to fight, more fireplaces to feed, more drafts through arrow slits and under ornate doors, stone floors leaching warmth from bare feet. You've heard nobles sleep with massive, drooling hunting hounds, not for companionship, but as living hot water bottles that occasionally fart. Servants, squires, and pages pile together near fires or behind tapestries, chasing slivers of heat. Your one-room cottage, chaotic and smelly, keeps warmth close. The fire and bodies are near, heat trapped in your crowded space, unlike the nobles' echoing halls. Here's a weird fact. In some castles, people wore bedclothes around the halls, fur-lined sleeping cloaks, making nobles look like overdressed ghosts. Undressing fully to sleep was risky. If the fire died, you might not wake up. Being a noble didn't mean comfort, just a different struggle with absurd expectations. While you break ice off the goat's trough, they throw winter feasts with dried apples, salted venison, and exotic spices, showing off with roaring fires and wax-covered tables. Servants freeze, sweating through wool, trying not to spill gravy on a lord's velvet. The class divide sharpens in winter. Your stew thins while theirs is butter thick. Your boots crack, theirs are fur-trimmed. You worry about surviving. They worry about wine stocks for banquets. Yet cold doesn't spare them. Nobles catch colds, their lips turn blue, their babies cough in the dark, just like yours. Scholars debate whether noble women suffered more than peasant women in winter. Nobles had better clothes and fewer outdoor chores, but were corseted, restricted, stuck in rooms without freedom to move or dress as they wished. Imagine freezing in silk, unable to leave without an escort. Warm, perhaps, but not free. Your sister, frostbitten and barefoot, could climb trees or chase pigs if she wanted. She doesn't. She's not foolish. Noble children fare little better, shivering in drafty towers, their tutors droning over frozen ink. Sometimes delivering firewood or paying rent, you step inside castle gates, and the chill deepens. Not colder, but heavier, like the castle breathes winter. Stone towers are rimed with frost. Torchlight barely keeps up with the dark, and everything echoes, even laughter muffled like it's wrapped in wool. There's an allure, the smell of spiced wine, roasted meats, chandeliers too high to reach. For a moment, you forget the outhouse, cracked knuckles, and the goat probably eating your laundry. You imagine living there. Then you see the servants shivering under liveried coats, and remember warmth is a currency you can't afford here. You return to your cottage, your fire, your family, your one-room life. It's not glamorous, barely tolerable, but it's yours. When the wind howls and snow batters the roof, your space fights with you, not against you. Nobles can keep their stone walls and drafty towers. You'll take smoke-filled lungs and pigs in the kitchen over marble floors and silk gloves any day. Every day, you wear the same outfit, not for style or flattery, but because it's your only defense against a frostbitten grave. Medieval winter fashion isn't about making a statement. It's about survival. Your clothes don't make a fashion statement unless that statement is, "Please don't let me freeze today." So far, they've done a decent job, though you're starting to suspect your left foot has cut off diplomatic relations with your toes. Layering is everything. You start with a linen shirt. If it's clean, that's cause for celebration. Over it goes the wool tunic, the scratchy miracle of the age. It's coarse, smells faintly of damp sheep, and never stops itching, but it insulates even when wet, which is critical when snow keeps sneaking under your collar and into your boots. Next comes the cloak, wool again, or maybe fur-trimmed if you're fancy or just incredibly lucky. Some folks sew rabbit pelts inside for extra warmth, creating a portable ecosystem of heat, odor, and potential fleas. You cinch it all with a belt of leather so stiff it could scrape snow. The belt isn't for style. It holds your knife, maybe a pouch, a lucky charm, or a bit of rope. Your boots, worn leather, thin in spots, are stuffed with straw or wool scraps to plug gaps. You learned early that snow finds the smallest holes, melting into your socks, which then freeze into rigid foot armor you stomp around in all day. Gloves are a luxury. If you have them, they're likely fingerless or so poorly stitched they fall apart every few weeks, re-sewn with thread from old twine. Mittens are smarter, but require your mother's patience to knit, and time in winter is scarce. A hat is non-negotiable. Maybe a felt cap pulled over your ears or a hood sewn into your cloak. You look like a disgruntled monk, and you're fine with that. Vanity dies with the first frost. In the village, everyone shuffles like wool-wrapped wraiths. Children vanish into layers, their arms sticking out like stiff wings. Elders bundle up in cloaks, looking like muttering rolled carpets. No one looks good. That's not the point. The point is not dying. But here's the kicker. Despite all the layers, you're still wet. Snow melts, breath condenses, sweat freezes. Everything's damp all the time. There's no Gore-Tex, no waterproof shell, just heavy fabric that soaks, sags, and chills you to the bone. You dry your clothes by the fire each night, but they're never truly dry. They smell of smoke, mold, and whatever you stepped in earlier, possibly goose droppings. No one asks, no one cares. You've developed a sixth sense for which garments are dry enough to wear and which will turn your armpits into cold soup by noon. It's an ugly science. Some swear by rotating cloaks. Others curse them. Some wear the same socks for 3 days straight. You wear whatever isn't frozen solid and won't make your mother hurl a spoon at you. Undergarments? Let's not dwell on them. Most people don't bother. Maybe a loincloth or hose tied to the waist, making toilet trips an act of architectural endurance. There's also the braise, baggy linen drawers with a drawstring, great for airflow, terrible for warmth. Women deal with multiple skirts, sometimes damp, often heavy, occasionally frozen at the hems from trudging through snowdrifts. Here's a fun fact. Some medieval communities believed too many layers could trap evil spirits between them. So, wearing 3 tunics and a surcoat might keep you warm, but could also invite demonic squatters. That's the kind of logic born from months in the dark. Scholars debate how much people suffered from cold based on clothing found in bogs and burials. Some argue wool was more effective than modern folks think. Others say people just tolerated the cold as part of life. You lean toward the latter. After your 6th winter in these boots and 3rd time patching the same tunic hole, you stop caring about efficiency. You care about surviving the night. Fashion existed, even in winter, even when your fingers were falling off. Nobles wore bright, layered fabrics, sleeves so long they'd sweep the floor if snow didn't freeze them first. Women's hoods had lyra pipes, long, flapping tails like absurd scarves. Blue dye was a status symbol, being costly. You glance at your soot-colored tunic and mutter, "We must be priceless." Your one fancy item is a wool scarf your grandmother knit before she passed. It's too long, smells faintly of mint, and has holes at both ends, but you wear it daily, not just for warmth, but for memory. Every layer tells a story. This cloak stitched by your mother, these mittens stolen from your brother, that hole in your boot from a frozen nail last winter. You're wearing your biography. By midday, the sun hangs low, melting snow into grimy puddles that soak your tunic and cloak hems. Your clothes grow heavier, like the cold is trying to drag you into the earth. You keep moving, working, sweating, shivering, shaking out your cloak for the 100th time. It doesn't matter how ugly, itchy, or smelly your clothes are. They keep you alive. That's the rule. Wear everything you've got and keep moving, because stopping lets the cold win and you're not letting it. Not today. It's easy to lose track of days in winter. The sun rises reluctantly and sets before you've started. Light is a rumor, a faint smear on the horizon. You can't tell Tuesday from Thursday, and it doesn't matter. But one stretch of days stands out. When bells ring more often, food gets slightly better, and even in the coldest season, people try to remember joy. It's Christmas, Yule, or midwinter, or for older families, the time when forest spirits demand cakes. Winter festivals are odd. In a church-dictated world, the line between sacred and survival blurs. One moment, you're singing hymns in a chapel so cold your breath fogs the altar. The next, you're dancing barefoot on packed dirt while someone plays a cracked lute and your uncle nearly falls into the fire. The buildup starts with Advent, not a chocolate countdown like in warmer centuries, but a tally of root vegetable meals or nights until you can sleep an extra hour. Church bells ring more, calling for Mass, penance, and fasting, which feels redundant when you've been fasting unintentionally for weeks. But there's a promise. Endure the cold and hunger, and there'll be food, music, warmth, briefly. Christmas Day is the main event. The village hums with strange energy. You wake earlier than usual, which feels unfair, but the air is different. Your mother tends the fire, and the pot smells of actual meat. Not dried scraps, but real meat. Excitement bubbles in your chest, maybe with a bit of drool. Your father, usually a walking scowl, hums while chopping extra logs, even patting your head. It's weird. You avoid eye contact. Your siblings bicker over the single festive scarf, a moth-eaten, smoking cabbage-scented red relic passed down like a holy artifact. It's perfect. By midday, the feast begins, not extravagant, but a miracle compared to usual fare. Roasted goose, or rabbit if goose was too costly, root vegetables glazed with honey, spiced ale, warm and slightly alcoholic. Bread baked that morning, still soft in the center. You get seconds, maybe thirds. It's not just the food or warmth. It's not rationing every bite. Something inside you loosens. You're not surviving. You're celebrating. There's off-key singing, fueled by drink. Neighbors you haven't spoken to in weeks laugh again. An uncle bangs a drum for hours. Someone braver dances. Heavy boots thud on frozen dirt. Skirts twirl, knocking over children, whooping, echoing into the night like an exorcism. The church keeps things holy with midnight mass, where half the attendees are drunk and struggling to stay awake. The priest's sermon competes with plans to steal the last pie slice. Candles flicker in the nave, lighting faces that haven't smiled in weeks. A smoky, chaotic beauty. It feels ancient. The priest speaks of Christ and angels, but the Yule log and fir branches over the door tie to older traditions, meant to keep something out. Your grandmother whispered of wild hunts, spirits in trees, animals speaking on the longest night. Your goat stares back, unimpressed. Here's a fringe fact. Some villages burned effigies during the solstice, a stand-in for the old year or gods, depending on who you ask. They buried them under hearths, tossed them in rivers, or danced around them until they caught fire. No one agrees on the meaning, but it felt vital. Now you toss an ugly log on the fire and call it tradition. Scholars debate whether Christmas was truly joyful for common folk or just a break from starvation. Some say it was spiritual, others an excuse to get drunk and forget winter's misery. You think both are true. People need warmth and wonder, even if it's a badly stuffed goose and your aunt's tale of kissing a bishop under mistletoe. The celebration lasts 12 days if your pantry allows. By Epiphany, it's back to thin gruel, the firewood pile, a sad memory. But for those days, you had joy, music, meat, maybe hope. After the final feast, you wrap yourself in the patchy scarf smelling of smoke and honey. Someone hums a carol that becomes a lullaby. You sit back, full, warm for now, almost forgetting the cold pressing against the shutters. By early January, Christmas cheer fades like smoke from a burned-out log. Reality returns viciously. Your belly, briefly full, resumes its complaints. Bread hardens, beans lose their charm. Frost on the windows no longer glitters. It just stares colder than ever. The unspoken question looms. How much firewood is left? You check the pile. It's much smaller. You count logs, breath fogging, hoping they'll multiply. 3 weeks' worth. Maybe 4 with rationing. 5 if you burn branches meant for fence repair. You ignore the missing logs, knowing your neighbor's pile vanished 2 weeks ago, yet his chimney's puffing. His daughter's blue lips and cough linger in your mind. You sigh, grab a log, and head inside. Survival leaves little room for blame. Firewood isn't just fuel, it's currency, more valuable than gold. Gold won't cook porridge or keep your baby from freezing. A bundle of kindling is a miracle, warmth, life. Every stick and twig is counted, watched, sometimes fought over. You remember autumn's collection days. The village marching to the woods with axes and carts. Young chopped, old gathered, children carried bundles on aching backs. It wasn't festive, it was business. Each branch had a future, each log insurance against bitter nights. Now, that effort shrinks outside your door, vanishing one burn at a time. You ration flame like food and clothes. 1 fire a day, 2 if it's unbearable. You mix softwood and hardwood to stretch the burn, sweep ash for lye to make soap, assuming you have fat, which is laughable now. Some burn furniture, fence posts, even stool legs to avoid freezing. You heard of a man who burned his barn's rafters until it collapsed. He didn't survive, but his fire lasted a few nights. You barter, a hen for kindling, mittens for logs. You eye trees differently. That one by the creek could be dry next winter. That brush by the chapel looks too flammable to ignore. The firewood economy is brutal. Here's a weird fact. Some towns had harsh laws against firewood theft, fines, whippings, even exile, not for the tree's value, but for what it meant in February. Warmth, everything. The rich had woodcutters and stewards ensuring their hearths never cooled, fires roaring in multiple rooms. You try not to envy, it doesn't stoke your fire. Scholars debate medieval forestry's sustainability. Some say woods were managed, cuts rotated, trees planted. Others argue people chopped recklessly. The forest doesn't care about theories. It gives what it gives, and taking too much leaves nothing for next year. You've seen barren clearings and homes surrounded by stumps where people froze. The cold sinks into your bones faster now. You might be getting sick, or maybe the fire's just smaller. You keep your hands near the flames, dry socks nightly, sleep by the hearth, toes in the ashes. Your back aches from the hard floor, but it beats frostbite. Yet there's a hypnotic beauty, flames twisting, glowing on your family's faces, wood popping like distant thunder. You speak fire's language, crackling pine, hissing damp logs, steady oak burns. You know when a fire's healthy or dying. Silence fills long hours, broken by steam hissing or timbers groaning. You think more in winter, wait. You dream of green hills, sunlit paths, rooms where fire is a luxury, not a necessity. Morning comes and the ritual restarts. You bank the coals, whisper a prayer to whatever listens, and toss on a stick. It catches, the flame spreads. The room warms a degree, enough to breathe without flinching. That's victory, hope, one log at a time. You got a cough, a rough scrape in your throat, stubborn but not loud enough to alarm anyone. You haven't told your mother. She'd give you that half-fearful, half-resigned look and force you to drink something smelling of old feet and burning like witch fire. So you clear your throat, spit into the ashes, and pretend it's nothing. But in winter, nothing becomes something. A sniffle turns to fever, a cough to a rattle, a chill to an unshakable shiver. When that happens, people treat you differently, quieter, standing farther away. They've seen it. People die coughing into blankets, untouched by a fire that can't warm them anymore. Medicine means herbal concoctions, half-remembered traditions, and whatever the village wise woman, Martre, hasn't run out of. No tidy vials, just dried herbs looking like weeds and jars of mysterious goop promising to clear black bile, whatever that is. You're sure you have too much of it. Martre, smelling of sour milk and mint, is the village healer. Her hut leaks strange-colored smoke, and people visit her secretly when the priest isn't watching. The line between healer and heretic is thin in winter's fear. She catches you coughing into your sleeve by the well, hands you a pouch of crunchy, clinking stuff smelling like an abandoned garden. Boil it, not too hot. Let steep drink, she says. You nod, knowing you'll try but not perfectly. You're too tired not to. You boil water, toss in a pinch of the mix, and the room fills with a bitter, grassy scent with a sharp kick that stings your eyes. You sip slowly, try not to gag. Your family watches with exaggerated sympathy, glad it's not their turn. Your sister fakes a cough and gets a glare from your mother. Winter's no time for jokes. Here's a quirky truth. Medieval people believed in balancing humors, blood, phlegm, black and yellow bile. Too much phlegm meant a cold. Maybe melancholy, too much bile a fever. Treatments? Bloodletting, boiled leeks, prayers to Saint Sebastian, or goose fat rubbed on your chest while chanting backward. It's not science. You've seen leeches and bloodletting. The priest calls sickness divine punishment. You're not sure, but if it's a test, it's in Latin, and no one gave you a quill. Your cousin had the flux last year, sweating uncontrollably. They burned rosemary, garlic, even shoe leather to chase the illness out. He survived but talks to geese now, staring when snow falls hard. Church says prayer. Martyr says honey and elderflower. Your mother says broth and silence. You try all three, kneel at mass, cough into your sleeve, drink the tea, eat the broth, stay quiet. You'll take any remedy that doesn't involve a knife unwashed since harvest. Medicine's unpredictable. You can do everything right and worsen or ignore it and recover. A man swore garlic and onions kept him healthy all winter, then got struck by lightning in spring. Scholars debate medieval remedies. Some say willow bark and mint worked. Others call it ritual and hope. They never drank dandelion sludge or bathed in ash while their mother prayed over them. You lie by the fire, coughing just enough to be annoying. Your skin's hot and cold, lips cracked, throat raw. You pull your cloak tighter, roll toward the hearth, and imagine spring. Not because it's near, but because you need something to believe in besides snow and shivering. You think of Marcher's stained hands, your cousin's goose talks, the priest's sermons, fever's sweat, ginger's burn. Your cough eases, maybe the tea, maybe the fire, maybe nothing. You breathe shallowly, afraid to wake the sickness. You sleep, hoping the tea works, the fever stays mild, your family doesn't hear you wheeze. In the room's silence, only the fire breathes with you. It starts with a sharp, stinging pain in your toes. Not the usual numbness that fades by the fire, but something deeper, angrier. You peel off your stiff socks and stare. Your smallest toes are purple, one with a black patch like cold stone. You touch it. No feeling, no pain, and that's worse. You don't panic, just slide your sock back on and pull your cloak tighter. You've seen this. Last winter, a boy lost half his foot to frostbite. They wrapped it in goose-fat-soaked cloth, kept him by the fire for weeks. He limps now, with a blank stare called lucky. He didn't seem lucky. In the common room, the fire smolders. It's too quiet. Your mother notices your feet with that tired dread she reserves for winter's threats. "Let me see," she says. You show her, because you have no choice. She doesn't gasp, just sighs, heavy like something inside her broke. "Frostbite," she mutters. "The skin's dead. You didn't tell me." You mumble it didn't hurt. She waves you off, not angry, just calculating, wood to burn, soup for days you can't walk, what to do if rot spreads. There's no doctor, just Marta with her herbs and bitter paste. She arrives, hair tangled, breath steaming like a cauldron. She squints at your feet, frowns, and pulls out a tin of thick, yellowish stuff smelling of garlic, tallow, and regret. "Rub this on twice a day," she says. "Keep the toes warm, wrap them tight, not too tight, and don't move much." Your mother thanks her. You don't speak, staring at toes that don't feel like yours. The paste burns, not painfully, but like your foot's remembering how to feel reluctantly. Martyr says pain means something's alive. You want to believe her. She gives your mother a bottle of spirits. Not for drinking, but if the black spreads. You try not to think about it. Your foot's wrapped so thick it's like a pillow. You lie by the fire, watching others bustle. Chores don't stop for rebellious toes. Wood split, water hauled, chickens fed. You feel useless, stinging worse than the paste. Nights later, pain surges, pulsing with your heart, shocking your calf if someone walks near. It's awful, but the best thing you've felt. Martyr was right, pain's a twisted gift. Days drag. You barely move, afraid to test a foot. Your mother checks it nightly, reading the skin like a map for disaster. The black hasn't grown. The purple fades to mottled gray. You're not celebrating yet. Your sister jokes you'll be 4-toe now. Your father laughs, not cruelly, just tired. It's a bad joke, but it cuts the tension. Firelight catches everyone's faces, feeling normal for a moment. Here's a strange detail. Some believe frostbite came from spirits biting you in sleep, leaving food out to appease winter demons. You laugh, but when your foot throbs, it feels like something's chewing it. Scholars debate frostbite's prevalence and treatment. Some say people endured. Others think remedies worked better than credited. You don't know. You just hear, wrapped in wool, breathing by the fire. You hobble again, foot tightly bound, leaning on a stick. It hurts, but you're moving progress. You last 3 minutes outside before your foot screams. You're cautious now. No bare feet, no snowdrift shortcuts. You wrap your foot yourself, not out of necessity, but because it's yours again. The scar stays, the toe stiff and weird, but it's enough. You survive, not by science or miracles, but garlic paste, family vigilance, and the stubborn fire in your half-dead limbs. Winter turns your home into a prison. Not dramatic with gates or guards, just endless gray days like moldy bread, each colder and quieter. Cabin fever isn't for the weak. Everyone feels it after weeks in the same room with the same faces. The house smells of damp wool, burnt onions, stale breath, and goats. Yes, goats come inside. You've stopped fighting it. They're family now. You give one your fireside seat. It headbutts you. Your siblings are everywhere, breathing loudly, picking teeth with sticks, fighting over bread crusts. Your brother's jaw clicks when he chews. You're plotting his quiet disappearance. Your sister sings nonsense to fill the silence. Your father glares, as if silence was ever real. There are no books, just a chipped prayer board and a hymn page your mother keeps in a box. You've read it so often you've made up verses. Rejoice, Ye cold and miserable, for thou shalt bathe again. Boredom's a disease, eating at you, amplifying thoughts, making feet twitch and squabbles erupt over nothing. You nearly fight your brother over who pokes the fire. Not chops wood, just touches the poker. He wins, you're still limping. Time's a fog. Wake, eat, sit by the fire, stare, nap, eat, sleep, maybe swap the order. The sun's a pale smear, too shy to shine. Games help. Bone dice for keep or curse. Betting on moldy food. Drawing in hearth ash until your father yells about summoning demons. Or who's quietest, lasting 17 seconds. Your mother assigns chores to stop fights. Dust, sort, untangle cords, scrub the clean table. Your sister weaves straw into a broom, calling it a masterpiece. You cheer like it's a spinning wheel. Brooms are thrilling now. At night, it gets weird. Not ghost story weird, but mind weird. Lying awake, the fire seems to whisper stories. Or maybe it's your brother's bear-like snores. At night, the shadows play tricks. You see shapes, creatures, faces, forests. Not scary, but unfamiliar. Stare too long, and your mind spins its own tales. They call it winter thoughts, the strange musings that creep in when the dark lingers. Old regrets, odd dreams, fantasies of walking to the sea, even if you've never seen it. One morning, you imagine sleeping in the snow on purpose, not to die, but to escape the noise. That's when you know you need air. You layer up and step outside. The cold slaps you like an insult, but you push through, past snowdrifts and the goat. Now, a judgmental housemate. You walk until your toes ache and your throat burns, staring at trees sky white. You breathe, remembering the world is bigger than your house. The stew, your brother's chewing. A raven caws overhead, mocking. You flip it off and feel better. Here's a weird fact. Some medieval households had winter-only stories. Tales of wolves walking like men, forests whispering names, or children returning from snowstorms with ash-colored eyes. You've heard and told a few. They help, or keep you awake. Scholars debate if cabin fever was recognized in the Middle Ages. Some point to records of strange winter behaviors. Arguments, mild madness. Others call it a modern idea. You've seen a man chase his boot across the room from boredom. Something's happening. Spring will come. They say green fields, chicken arguments instead of blanket fights. Until then, you survive the madness, the noise, the silence, the fire, and your sister dodging pot-scrubbing duty. You sleep, dreaming of open fields, and wake to more snow. A cluck, low, offended, comes from behind the firewood pile, followed by a snore to shuffle, something flopping like a drunk uncle off a stool. You don't react. It's just the goat, sprawled by the hearth, chewing what might be your mitten. Your mother waves it off. She gave up weeks ago. Animals indoors aren't a crisis. They're a design choice. You share your smoky, drafty space with 2 chickens, a piglet squealing past sundown, and a duck nesting behind the kindling, judging you. If you die, it'll claim your spot. The house reeks, not overpowering, but a stew of sweat, wet wool, ash, manure, hay, cabbage, and livestock musk. You barely notice until the wind shifts, reminding you of fresh air. You share everything: fire, floor, food scraps. The pig eyes the stew pot, plotting revenge. People picture medieval winters as quiet, candlelit prayers, but they miss the clucking, snorting, squealing chaos. The goat snores, chickens flap in their sleep, the pig grunts at private dreams. You step in droppings on route to the outhouse, trip on straw bedding turned carpet, find feathers in your cloak. The house is a barn now. It works sort of: chickens lay eggs if warm, goats give milk, maybe cheese if your mother's ambitious. The piglet needs warmth to survive. So you tolerate it, pulling your blanket tighter as the goat nudges you, ignoring the feather tickling your ear. Here's a quirky fact. Some believed indoor animals brought spiritual protection. A cow meant luck, a dog by the fire kept spirits away, chickens clucking repelled goblins. You mutter this when waking face first in straw beside a snoring pig. Scholars romanticize this: cows chewing cud, children with lambs. They skip the cow dung on the floor, the pig biting your toe, or the goat eating your prayer sheet, making every recitation technically blasphemous. The priest disapproves, preaching human dominion over beasts, but a hen lays an egg on a pew during his sermon. The duck struts out, poops by the hearth, and vanishes. You don't react. You're out of emotional energy. Animals add body heat. Tucking your feet against the pig is warmer than socks. Chickens clucking at sneezes is entertainment. Everyone, human, animal, huddles by the fire in a chaotic survival symphony. Spring will evict the animals back to the yard. You'll reclaim the floor, blankets, silence. For now, you block the chicken roosting on your shoulder and sigh, smelling of goat. This is winter, functional, not glorious. Deep in winter, when days are shortest and darkness feels ancient, the village quiets differently, not from stillness, but a shift in the air. Your bones feel it, solstice time. Beneath church-approved names like Midwinter Mass, pagan memories linger. Your mother hangs holly and ivy, saying it keeps the house from souring, literally. On the longest nights, things slip through cracks, she whispers. You build a bonfire behind the woodshed with your father, stacking logs like a funeral pyre. It's excessive when firewood's scarce, but must burn all night, he says, or the sun forgets to rise. He doesn't smile. The village gathers around the flames. No sermons, just stories of women guiding lost souls, horned men in fur, glowing animals in the sky. You listen, wide-eyed, toes briefly warm. Everyone feels it, a hum like the earth holds its breath. They drink warm ale, eat salted flatbread, whisper wishes into the smoke. You hide yours in your sleeve. Long before churches, the solstice was a spiritual checkpoint. If you made it, spring was possible, but only with fires, stories, and offerings. Bread at the forest's edge, beer on the doorstep. You do it because not doing it feels risky. Here's a quirky fact. Some villages held solstice feasts with animal masks, fiery wheels rolled down hills, or silent hours when old ones passed. The church layered saints over these, but they persist. Elders pause during grace, leaving space for something unspoken. The priest skips the bonfire, muttering psalms, but his prayers lengthen at solstice, a candle always lit. At home, your mother tosses orange peel into the hearth, your father adds rosemary, your sister hums a dream-born tune, not a hymn. Solstice dreams are vivid, strange. You dream of walking barefoot through woods, trailing fire, chased by shadows calling your name. You wake, blanket off, foot near the coals, heart racing. The days around solstice feel thin, the wall between worlds fragile. Doors are double-bolted, fires never die, even if it means burning your last stick. Scholars debate if these are superstitions or cultural memories. You think both, fear and hope, are ancient twins, passed down like lullabies. The sun rises earlier, minutes at most, but enough to believe the worst is past. The solstice doesn't end winter. It lets you believe you'll survive. You stoke the fire, eat the last salted bread, keep the greenery up, and whisper thanks to saints, spirits, the air, hoping someone hears. Snow's beauty, soft hushes, moonlit branches, is a poet's lie. It's a frozen weapon. Village kids wield it with terrifying creativity. A snowball, packed with gravel, clips your head as you check the goats. You curse, turn, and see giggling kids behind a hedge, ready for round two. Snow warfare has no age limit. Older boys build snow forts with trenches. Younger ones fling snow, mud, sticks, or each other. You've seen a wooden spoon used as a catapult, a slingshot from bootlaces, and a rock. It's not always play. Snow channels tensions from blocked trade routes and cramped quarters. A joke about patched trousers or a stolen sweet sparks it. By midwinter, snow's an outlet for grudges. One street, narrow and drift-walled, is a kid-patrolled fortress. They demand tolls, bread crusts, or riddles, or pelt you. Adults aren't spared. The butcher took a snowball to the face, shaking a ham hock at the sky as culprits vanished. Snow's also a trap. Icy roads overturn wagons, horses stall. The cooper broke his arm, sliding into the pig pen. The pigs were unimpressed. Uneven snow forms ridges, making, trips an expedition. You test each step with a stick, praying you don't sink into a waist-deep drift. You've dragged siblings out with ropes. Here's a fringe fact. Some towns held organized snowball fights, team-based with referees and crowds, to build unity. You're skeptical when kids end up bruised and bootless. Snow keeps falling. You shovel doorways, paths, roofs to prevent collapse. It clings to boots, cloaks, eyelashes. You come inside red-faced, dripping, looking like a boiled beet. Snow blurs roads, sinks fences, shrinks the world to your doorstep. Isolation grows, not just geographic, but a sense that everything outside is another realm. Travelers' tales of avalanches, houses buried, towns erased, make you eye your roof's thatch warily. Melting snow refreezes into jagged ice, icicles like daggers. One stabs the ground near you. You avoid the eaves spears. Yet snow has moments. At night, under a full moon, it glows silver, muffling sound. You breathe ice and sky, forgetting bruises and ambushes. You walk, savoring the crunch, feeling alive. Then a rock-filled snowball whizzes past, exploding on the fence. The kids are back. You duck and run. By midwinter, snow's an unwanted cousin, eating your food, leaving mud. Patience thins faster than firewood. Village civility phrase, revealing snow politics. You and your father shovel a narrow path every other morning, sweating through cloaks, knuckles numb on the bent iron shovel. Crusted snow fights back. You do it to reach the well and keep neighbors from trampling your fence. But paths spark disputes. Whose turn to shovel? Who widened it too far? Who let it ice over? Grumbles turn to glares, then arguments. Snow politics isn't just about paths. It's about survival. Who gets to the well first? Whose firewood pile borrows from yours? Who claims the last dry spot by the communal fire? Winter strips politeness, leaving raw need. You shovel, glare, and keep moving because stopping means losing ground, literally and figuratively. The Morton family's neglect of their end of the lane starts subtly. Claims of a sick son, a missing shovel, then silence. The result is a slick, frozen mess outside your house, turning every well trip into a balancing act. Your sister slips, nearly cracking her head on a bucket. You say nothing. What can you say? It's not criminal, just selfish. Whispers spread. They've got a new shovel. They're stomping to their coop just fine. They're waiting for us to do it. Your mother mutters about good neighbors being buried under better ones. You pretend not to hear. Then it's the chapel path. For years, households rotated clearing it, unspoken fare. This winter, someone skips their day, then another. Soon, it's just the carpenter's son, shoveling with a rusted blade and a scowl like granite. You help to keep your grandmother from breaking a hip, but you see his glare when the shoemaker passes without lifting a finger. It's a grudge filed for later. Winter's supposed to unite. Huddled fires, shared stories, but the cold makes people territorial. Neighbors eye your chimney, probing if your firewood's low, casually mentioning their fresh stock, not offering. The tavern girl fills 2 buckets at the well, accidentally leaves one half full. Later, it's gone, and her brother's hearth smokes again. Cloaks vanish by the communal fire, lone pots crack, axes appear in wrong sheds. These aren't accidents. They're cold weather crimes, politely delivered, denied. The village hums with narrowed glances and forced smiles. Here's a fringe fact. Some villages had formal winter rules, written codes on kindling shares or snow-clearing duties. Break them, and you'd owe eggs or muck pig pens in spring. Some had snow wardens to prevent petty vengeance from turning violent. You wish your village had one, you'd vote for the goat. Personality's great. The baker's too loud, the blacksmith's wife glares. Your aunt's 72 blizzard story is a daily sermon. If she mentions it again, her boots get snow. Even the animals mirror the mood. Chickens peck harder, goats get ornery, the dog stops wagging. Your house is a slow-boiling pot. One Thursday, your brother, bruised from Morton's slush, snaps at their boy for a stray snowball. The kid cries. Mrs. Morton storms over. Accusations fly. Selfish, lazy, thieving lot. Your mother slams the door. You listen, heart pounding. For a week, silence reigns. The Mortons are shunned. Your brother scatters ash on their path. Not petty, just a message. You understand. It's the pressure of months trapped together, patience frozen. Then, a Morton boy leaves firewood by your door and bolts. Your brother grumbles, but brings it in. A bread crust appears on your step. The goat eats it. Cold divides, hunger reminds, small acts pull you back. You don't forget, but you forgive, mostly. You keep shoveling. By mid-January, darkness is predictable, descending after lunch, lingering past the rooster's confused crow. Light doesn't set. It slips away, unceremonious. Early dusk is an inconvenience. You trip over goats, misjudge coop checks in pitch black, guessing hen from woodpile. Then it's heavier, settling between your ribs. Days dissolve, nights drag like wet wool. Suppers by firelight, faces orange, silent chewing louder than talk. Bedtime comes early. What else is there? Walk. Read by candlelight you don't have. Think in the outhouse. You try stories, songs, riddles. Goats spark a livestock or mischief debate. It lasts 2 nights. Silence takes over. Your sister picks her sleeves. Your brother glares at the fire. Your father carves miserable kindling faces. You stare at walls. Winter nights' wait isn't in ballads. No one sings of 16-hour indoor traps with family breathing and restless thoughts. Darkness breeds paranoia. Did you lock the barn? Did someone else? You imagine wolves creeping past the hearth, watching you sleep. You add a log, pretending you're not scared. Your mother lights a tallow candle. Not for light, but to fight shadows. Candles are precious, but when wind howls and shutters rattle, one flame's worth it. Here's a custom. Some families use night candles, slow-burning tapers marking hours, pray at one line, drink at another, sleep at the last. You guess time by the fire's fade, telling yourself spring stories. Fields, bare feet, frost-free pillows. Sleep shallow, broken by wind, snores, or your father's curses when kicked. You're crammed between your brother and the wall, feet cold, his colder. Dreams are strange, snow to blood, singing trees, fires calling your name. You wake sweating, your sister staring at the fire, saying she heard nothing but nodding otherwise. Villagers debate if nights are shortening. Some swear the sun's earlier, others, it's worse. An old woman notches a stick, claiming yesterday's sun lingered 2 moments less. She talks to chickens, so no one listens. Scholars say medieval folk used stars or church bells to track time, if the ringer was sober. You mark it by carved sticks, eggs laid, or blanket-chewing pigs. One evening, a sliver of horizon light. Not candle, not fire, hints the sun's rising earlier. You smile into your blanket, letting the fire warm you longer. You smell it before you see it. Not smoke, but iron and sour rot. Your mother smells it too, stirring stew with a frown. Another's gone. Whispers confirm it by midday. Old Willem the cooper's fire died 2 nights ago. No one checked until his chimney stopped. Too late. The ground's too frozen for a grave. So he lies in the chapel, wrapped, face covered to hide the cold's work. Winter kills quietly, no fanfare, just absence. The village shifts, no screams, just slower steps, softer voices, tighter cloaks. No one wants to be next. Your father says Willem was old, half gone already. Your mother scolds him. You get it. The weak go first, sick, frail, those giving food to kids, too proud for help, or too slow to stoke the fire. You watch the old closer, your grandmother's shaky hands, the priest's worsening cough, martyr muttering over herbs. You hate wondering who's next. No funeral, the cemetery's ice and snow. The priest prays over Willem in the chapel, breath clouding around candles. You peek through shutters. He looks small, not like himself. Post-solstice deaths climb, winter snuffs hopes flicker. A baby dies next, buried hastily in snow, no prayers. A young man slips near the woods, head cracked, found frozen. Goats avoid him. You list them mentally, Willem, the baby, the man with the crooked jaw. They appear in dreams, watching silently. Here's a fringe fact. Some believed winter dead spirits lingered until spring, restless, not malevolent. Candles burn by doors after sundown, just in case. Scholars note winter's high death rates, cold, disease, accidents accepted, but felt like walls closing in. Your sister stops singing, your brother stops carving, animals quiet. You check chickens thrice, hoard wood, whisper names into the hearth to keep them alive. Your grandmother warns against saying the dead's names after sunset. They might not know they're gone. You stop saying Willems at night. Life doesn't pause. Goats need feeding, stew needs stirring. Grief's a luxury. You keep moving, breathing, surviving. In quiet moments, you feel absence. An empty spot at the well, a missing voice, a silhouette gone. You poke the fire, watching embers spark and die. You don't cry, but you remember. Someone has to. When food thins and paths vanish under drifts, hunters step up. No fanfare, just cloaks and bows. Your uncle, heading out, nods at you. You're old enough. It's dark, sky slate, snow crunching. He's silent, steps careful. The woods feel like another world. Village gone, just trees and fog. Winter hunting is suffering, not skill. You crouch, freeze, fingers numb on the bowstring, breath fogging, silent. A hare's tracks appear. Your uncle reads them like ghost ink. You mimic his steps, knees aching. After an hour, you spot a hare, white still. He misses. You trudge on, boots soaked, cold climbing your legs. By midday, luck finds you, a deer herd in a hollow. Your uncle hits one. It stumbles, blood steaming. He finishes it with a knife, whispers a prayer. Dragging it home is brutal. No sled, just rope branches and shoulders. You fall, blister, buckle, but make it. No cheers, just relief, your sister staring at your bloody sleeve. The deer's butchered fast, meat salted, organs in stew, bones for marrow, hide for boots. The stew's smell consumes you. That night, you eat tender meat, not dried, not stretched. It's rich, perfect. No one speaks, too busy eating. You sleep full, a miracle. Here's a strange belief. Winter-hunted animals carried cold spirits, their flesh granting strength or cursing with ice-filled dreams. You dream of snow and wind, but wake warm, the fire's still alive. Some villagers shun winter meat, fearing it carries cold's curse. Others say it's survival's only fuel. You'll take the dreams. Scholars debate if peasants hunted or if it was a lord's privilege, poaching punished by death. In your village, meat on the table means no questions, just eat. Your uncle hands you a smaller bough the next morning. You shoot next time. No praise, just purpose. In a season where every breath is a fight, it feels like knighthood, colder, bloodier. Winter doesn't end cleanly. No grand thaw, no trumpets. Late February teases, a sunny moment, lighter air. You ditch your heavy cloak, lift your face, and believe. Then wet means snow falls, laughing at you. Fall springs taunt, melt, freeze, repeat. The yard's a swamp, paths slick with slush over ice. You waddle like a drunk duck, boots soaked, straw stuffing growing unnameable things. The house weeps, dripping thatch, moldy straw floor. Even the goats offended, ears drooped. You're exhausted, joints aching, hands cracked despite pig fat. Your cloak's a stained mystery, maybe once brown. Your father slips on the porch, groaning about building a house in hell to skip March. The livestock sulk, chickens' eggs freeze, the piglet glares from the muck, goats plot escape. Damp with smokes, stinging your eyes. Opening a window invites icy air. You slam it shut. Mud invades, paths betray, the yard's a churn mess. Your sister's mud castle is a gunk pile with a stick. You let her dream. Here's a quirky note. March was the lying month, promising spring while plotting snowstorms. Folk sayings warned of its tricks, lions, demons, frozen turnips. Scholars call it the late frost period, but you know it's winter's final slap. Yet signs emerge. A pre-dawn bird, thawed dirt, lingering sun. Your mother plans planting, seed grain her treasure. Your father digs out the rusted plow. No celebration, just forward motion, a miracle in itself. You pull boots on faster, walk to the well without dread. It's not spring, but it's trying. Hunger gnaws in late winter. The cellar's empty, shriveled turnips, dusty barley, a suspicious cabbage. No apples, no nuts, just goblin-head turnips and stubborn beans. Your mother's willpower turned scraps into mush, broth, or bean surprise with a forced smile. Jokes about horse-spit barley fade. Your stomach's dull, ache never does. You chew slowly, drink water, lick spoons. Hunger's quiet, creeping, tiredness, irritability, hollow cheeks. Your sister chews bark. You don't stop her. Dreams taunt with feasts, berries, warm bread. You wake to flavorless mush. Your mother skips her portion for the baby. Your father chews pine twigs. The starving time was real, February to April, villages eating leather or worse. A boy saw someone digging near the cemetery. Checking soil, he said. Hunger turns saints to scavengers. The goat's milk thins, chickens slow, the pig goes silent. Your father mutters, 2 weeks, unclear if it's slaughter or survival. No one asks for help. You hide what you can't share. Some believed eating snow tricked hunger. You try it, cold regret, worse after. Your mother calls hunger a saint's chisel, carving better souls. It feels like carving turnips, scar dry. One night, your brother doesn't return from ice fishing. Silence grips the house. At dawn, he stumbles in, soaked, empty-handed, alive. No one asks about fish. Stubbornness keeps you going. Instinct, spring's faint scent, or refusing winter's victory. You scrape your bowl, tighten your blanket, and endure. Dripping water wakes you. Not wind, not fire, not goats, but a sharp rhythm outside. Ice melts. Frost lingers, but the house hums with change. Outside, the yard's gray snow, black mud, reflective puddles. The air smells wet, alive, thawing soil, waking grass. The sun, real now, casts your shadow like a returning friend. Your sister ruins the moment with a slushy snowball. It's the thaw. Wobbly, not winter, not spring. Snow melts, icicles plink, the yard abog. Chickens squint at the sun. The goat bleats and retreats. The mood lifts. Your mother hums. Your father sharpens tools. Your brother names a chicken. Stew tastes better, not from ingredients, but joy's return. Mud's treacherous. Hidden holes, lost tools. You nearly lose a boot, slip in regret-scented puddles. The house leaks, pots catch drips. Your mother blames the roof, your father the thatching, you winter's pettiness. No one complains. Dripping means the frost's losing. Here's a ritual. Some villages beat snowbanks with sticks, yelling, "Be gone, old man winter." You try it. One swing, a satisfying collapse. Better than stew. Not everything survives. The barn sags, a bucket cracks, the piglet doesn't make it. Your father buries it at dusk. Spring doesn't save all, but it promises. Scholars debate spring start, calendar, church, sky. You mark it when snow groans, drops hit your eye, chickens squabble. The fire's no longer your lifeline. The house is a shelter, not a coffin. You dig into thawing earth, plan new crops, dream beyond the ridge. The world's wide again. Spring's mess is chaos, puddles, twigs, dung swirls. The village declares winter over, ready or not. Spring cleaning survival, not tidying. Your mother's ruthless, blankets, boots, kids, a chicken flung out. You beat bedding, dust clouds rising, beetle and mouse, bits included. Pots and spoons get scrubbed in icy hot water, your fingers numb. The winter's heap, ash, straw, bones, goo, takes 3 days to clear, the smell lingering. Then lice combing, winter's huddling bred them. Your mother's cruel comb stings. You cry, fail to hide it. Some monks kept lice for holy suffering. You just want them gone. Neighbor scrubs soot, patch thatch, dumps slushy water. It's not joy, but momentum. People stretch, argue louder, laugh sharper. Kids step barefoot in things they shouldn't. The blacksmith's boy breaks his arm. You sprain your ankle. It's the mud month. Mud in boots, mouth, dreams of dry ground. Birds return, a bee buzzes, you nearly cry. At dusk, you sit outside, not shivering. The firewood's low, but winter's end is near. A green shoot, Francis, appears by the fence. You all crouch, awed. Dandelions, moss, crocuses follow. Some said spring needed a child's whispered name into the earth. You whisper yours, the wind warm. You won, survived hunger, cold, loss. Not noble, but real. Mud on boots, sun on face, winter's memory clings, but you're here. Survival wasn't heroic. It was community, improvisation, luck. You mourned without ceremony, shared fire, learned snores. Death paused at your door, but passed. Now, trickling water, thawing dirt, a rooster's crow, your sister's muddy dance. It's life returning. Your cloak smells of smoke, snow lingers, but the soil's soft, seeds ready. You ache with purpose, planting, rebuilding, hoping. You're not just the wood hauler or the one the goat kicks. You're you, alive, breathing. The cold's leaving. Let it